American Radio's Daily Defense.
Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. Because they don't want me to, that's why I do it.
Presented by X Insurance. X Insurance. From the Sig Sauer Studios. On the Patriot Mobile Platinum microphone. Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Oh, man, we got a lot going on in the studio here today, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome inside Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. Mark Walters here in the Sig Sauer Studios, Monday through Friday. You know that every single day. Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center microphone is fired up for you today, busting out on dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of radio stations across the nation. I am Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today. And, of course, it's all being brought to you by X Insurance. Greg and Dallas Tejas, how you doing there in the Studio Network mothership, brother?
I'm just trying to stay dry over here, man.
Yeah, you guys getting some wet weather?
We're sending rain and floods your way.
Yes, you are. I saw that on the report today. Pox on you for that, but that's okay. Get rid of some of the pollen that's floating around. Greg, we're everywhere today, including, ladies and gentlemen, Facebook.com/Armed American Radio. If you want to watch us live, you can do that. Greg will tell you where to get the rest of it on social media. Please like, subscribe, share, all that great stuff. And then after he does that, we'll get cracking with our guests. We got a great lineup.
Yep, sure. Other places to watch the show are Rumble and YouTube. Just search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. On X, it's at AAR Mark. To join our live chat, download the Telegram messaging app, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
That will do it. And co-hosting with me today, Parkland Father Ryan Petty, our good friend. Ryan, how are you? Welcome in, brother.
Mark, I couldn't be finer today.
So if you were any better, there'd be three of you, right? There'd have to be three of you? Is that the saying?
Absolutely.
I'd say there had to be two of me. Hey, we have a great guest calling in, and you were with me at the NRA convention when we met with them at the Sig Sauer booth. Phil Strader, Vice President of Consumer Affairs for Sig Sauer, is joining us right this moment. Phil Strader, welcome in, my brother. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, it's always a pleasure to have you. I kind of wish I was at the Academy. You've been on with me live, sitting face-to-face. That's always fun. But I think we're going to be doing that next month and, of course, again in June. But it's awesome. You guys, first off, tell me about, your NRA convention. How did it go? You had a beautiful booth. You were giving out great gifts. People that were winning all of the virtual shooting contests. Lena was there.
Yeah.
Max was there, the whole team. How did the show wind up for you guys?
I think it was great. We had a lot of great traffic. Everyone was very positive. The crowd seemed really energetic and happy to be there. It was good. We were always busy. There was no time from start on Friday to end on Sunday did we have an empty booth. There were always things going on, and it was great.
I know that firsthand. Trying to get with you guys a couple of those days was really tough because you were absolutely packed over there, and that's always a great thing. Phil,
Yep.
That's the first NRA convention that I had been to since 2019, I believe, in Indianapolis, and then COVID hit and all that fun stuff. We all know NRA was having their issues. Did you detect a different type of ambiance on the floor of this year's show than in years past?
I think so. There seem to be a lot of people who are pretty excited about the direction that the NRA is headed. I mean, Doug's a great guy, and he has a real vision for what the organization can be, and he seems to be a kind of guy that he's not afraid to take on a challenge, and he's got some challenges ahead of him based on where the organization was, and but I think, as far as where the organization is heading, he's got great prospects. I think he's going to do well, and I think people there at the show can kind of sense that, and you can pick up that vibe from our visitors anyway.
Yeah, I sensed the same thing, and I was in the unique position to be able to glance back over my shoulder over previous years and versus what it was like then versus today, and it seemed to me to be a leaner, meaner type of machine that was more dedicated to the firearms industry than itself. And I don't know if you picked up on that, but everything from the booth size to the what appeared to me anyway to be a little bit of drop in NRA pomp and circumstance, and it was all about business. And I thought that was fantastic. Did you kind of get that sense as well? Just curious.
Yes, definitely. I mean, Doug he's taken the time. Him and a lot of his staff have taken the time to really engage with a lot of the industry partners and a lot of the other companies. I mean, he's actually had a chance to visit our facility, not just our manufacturing side, but also he stopped by the SIG Experience Center and the Sig Sauer Academy. He was actually there the very last day that I was in charge of that facility. He was my very last tour, I guess you could say, of the SIG Experience Center. So he's taking it seriously. I think he's surrounding himself with people who also have a similar vision of a new, stronger NRA that's actually looking to provide its members with more than it has in the past. And I'm excited for him. I rejoined. I had let my my membership lapse, and I rejoined once I met Doug and I met some of the guys. I knew a couple of them from before they were at the NRA, and I rejoined just because I believe in him. So I think he's going to do great.
Well, I didn't realize my membership had lapsed until the convention was coming up, and I thought, I hadn't seen my copy of America's First Freedom in a while. Time it just gets away from me, as you know, and all of a sudden a year or two goes by, right? So when I contacted NRA, I did the exact same thing. I re-upped for another 5 years. I've always been a member of the NRA for, decades. And I thought, no, this is the time to get involved now. And I feel really good about the direction, the way they're going. I really do. And particularly with some of the people that I've spoken to and folks like yourself who have so much invested. And, we appreciate everything that SIG does here. This is the Sig Sauer Studios, ladies and gentlemen, and everything that you guys do with Second Amendment Foundation and now what you're doing with NRA. I mean, I just think it's a great time to be moving forward, and I hope we can change some of the demographics at NRA membership, get it a little bit leaner, and, bring some younger folks in and really get this thing up to where it needs to be. Real quick, before I have a lot of questions for you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to the P320 here in just a few minutes with Phil. We were talking about that the other day, and I want you to hear this conversation. Ryan, anything that you want to jump in on what we said before we move to some guns?
Phil, it was great to meet you at NRA, and can't say enough great things about what I saw at the SIG booth. And before we go anywhere on that one, Mark, I do want to publicly thank SIG. Your listeners probably don't know this, but SIG has offered to come down to Florida at their SIG Academy and help train our school resource officers so that they can better protect our schools. They're doing it free of charge. They're doing it because they care about school safety. And SIG is a fantastic organization, and I just want to publicly thank them from the bottom of my heart for doing that. Before we go any further, my take on NRA was the first time I was there, but I am seeing a leaner, meaner NRA. We need a strong, vibrant NRA so that we can continue to restore the Second Amendment. I'm pleased with what I saw in Atlanta. I'm hopeful that the NRA is on the right track.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Phil, I'll let you jump in and respond to Ryan's comments on there. He and I talked about that briefly, but I didn't know the extent that Sig Sauer was involved with that training, that level of offering that training in Florida. If you want to jump all over that, we'll take it to the break on this, and then we'll go into guns when we come back in the next segment. Phil, take it away.
Well, yeah, listen, school safety is something that we obviously take very seriously, as everyone should, and we found an opportunity to help Florida with a program that they've gotten off the ground to better equip their student resource officers and their school security. And, we believe that giving them better training, give them more specialized training is the first step to that. And it doesn't stop with Florida. I mean, we are also working very closely with Arizona and some of their organizations that are also trying to incorporate similar standards. And we're providing them. We've actually started providing the state of Arizona with free equipment and free training, and we're really getting behind that state as well. And honestly, we're trying to just better educate and better train their school security resource officers. There's different levels in Arizona. They're looking to get involved, and we hope it trickles down to other states. We hope other states start to realize that a soft target is one that people are going to take advantage of, and better trained teachers, better trained staff, better trained school resource officers and police officers are the key to to deterring a lot of the crime. And as we've seen numerous times, the more a target is I guess you could call it vulnerable to these type of attacks, the more likely they are to happen. And we're trying to reduce that vulnerability.
Well, you're spot on with that. And, when you say a soft target, soft is a target. We all know that. Now, we're getting ready to take a break. That was perfect timing, Phil. When we come back, Ryan, I do want you to jump back in on that part of the conversation because I know we're referring to the Guardian program. You can let people know some intricacies of that, and then we'll talk about some firearms and some really cool SIG stuff going on. We're talking with Phil Strader, Vice President, Consumer Affairs, SIG Sauer, and Ryan Petty, Parkland Dad, regular co-host and guest. We'll be back right after the break. Don't go away. You don't want to miss this next segment.
The following segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, welcome back to the show indeed. If you're watching on your devices or TV sets, I'm holding up a Patriot Mobile activated phone. You can do the same thing, patriotmobile.com/AAR. You get a free month when you activate a phone using that promo code. Many of you have. We appreciate it very much. Support the businesses that support this voice now 16 years on the nation's airwaves. We couldn't do it without them, and we couldn't do it without you and all of our fantastic affiliates who have been with us from day one. We appreciate all of you so much. ArmedAmericanRadio.com. Ryan Petty, welcome back in. Phil Strader, welcome back in. We'll do that all at once. Ryan, quickly, if you would, respond to what you heard from Phil regarding school safety, and I know that's the Guardian program. If you would let people know about that, then I want to move over to the 320 and some other cool guns.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. So, look, one of the things we learned after Parkland is that we don't want our schools to be soft targets. And we also know that many of our school campuses across the country, this is the case, are large, campuses. They're tens of acres in many cases. And so having just one school resource officer on the campus isn't enough to protect all of those students. And so we've implemented what's called the Guardian program. This allows teachers and educational staff to become trained and armed on campus. So in many Florida schools, there are multiple people authorized to carry a firearm and to stop an attack should one start. This has two great effects. Number one, it's a deterrent. It keeps these little creeps for making plans to hit a school in Florida, number one. Number two, should something break out, it's far more likely that they can respond quickly and stop the killing, number one. Number two, there's courage in numbers. When you know there's 2 or 3 people that are running to that same that same shooter, you're more likely to go. And these are lessons painfully learned during the Parkland tragedy here.
You are spot on. And the 6 Hour Academy, let me throw the plug in before I go back to you, Phil. Ladies and gentlemen, I've had the privilege and honor to be there a number of times. And if you've never been there, you're doing yourself a disservice. By all means, if you can make the trek, please do. You will not be disappointed. It is world class. That's the 6 Hour Academy. And you can check it all out at 6hour.com. Phil Strader, Vice President, Consumer Affairs, 6 Hour. Let's go to the 320. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for disclosure's sake, I own a P220, a P365, a P365 Macro XL, a P226, a SIG P320 full size, and tomorrow, I got a call today of my 320 compact. I'm picking that up tomorrow at my local gun shop. I am no stranger to these guns, love every single one of them, and I treat all of my guns with the same level of respect. Phil, let's talk the 320. The internet's going crazy, Phil. They're going crazy. Can you set the record straight for us?
Absolutely. I think the story here is the same story we've been standing by forever. Is we have been working our tails off to try to find these alleged issues with our platform, with the P320. We're hearing all these accusations that the gun will fire without a trigger pull, and there are so many claims that we have tried to replicate. Other large agencies and other responsible agencies have also tried to replicate. They've employed reconstruction scenarios where they're trying to reconstruct an incident and trying to make these guns fail in the way they're being claimed. In fact, even prosecute, these attorneys who are attacking the platform and suing the company, their experts have tried to make these guns do what they're being claimed to do, and the results are the same every single time, and that is that the gun only shoots when the trigger's pulled. And trust me, I shoot a 320. Mm-hmm. I compete with a 320. I've been competing with a 320 since I got hired by 6 Hour. And for anyone who knows my shooting ability and the levels at which I compete, things are happening very quickly. Draws are happening at crazy speeds. We're reloading. We're handling the firearms in ways that most people don't. And if I personally ever thought there was an issue with the firearm, I wouldn't use it. I would use a 226. And if I thought there was any issues with the firearm, I'd be the first one kicking in my boss's door, telling them, "Hey, there's a problem here." And don't forget about the other 3,400 employees who would probably do the same thing. 30 or 40% of which are former law enforcement and military, veterans. So these are people who have a vested interest, and they have kids in the military. They have kids that are out there in the streets, using these firearms to protect themselves or to serve the public. And we all have a vested interest. We're doing our due diligence. We're doing all the work we can to try to find these defects, and we can't find them. And trust me, we're working hard to do it. And obviously, if we were to find them, we would address them. But so far, the result is unanimous, not from just us, but from everyone else that's trying. And there is some light at the end of this tunnel. There is a side of this that's not terribly negative. Is because of all these accusations, we can confidently say that the P320 has been through more testing, more rough handling specifications, more destructive testing than any firearm, any pistol that's ever been manufactured. And that's something we can easily stand by because we've been in a situation where we're doing everything we know how to do to make them fail.
Now, I've had Ron Cohen, the CEO of SIG, on the program on more than one occasion, and we've talked about the 320 as well. And that's where I was going. You kind of jumped there. I had answered my question. My next question was, is this the most tested gun in your lineup? And I believe Ron has told me that it is, in fact, the most tested gun. And ladies and gentlemen, if you visit the website, you will see the most tested and proven sidearm ever. And SIG clearly stands by it. Real quick, the videos that are out that some of the YouTubers are going after you on, how do you respond to that? Or is anything clear from those videos that SIG wants to reply to?
Well, there's a lot of videos out. It just depends on what the hot topic of the day is. A lot of the in-holster discharges that we've seen are usually pretty vague. They're very pixelated. It's hard to see what's going on. But there is one that's standing out that as a very clear video. It shows a lot of different angles, and that's the Montville PD. For those of your listeners that don't understand what that is, there was a group of officers, and one of them was bending over to pick up the suspect's feet. And as he was standing up, he bumped into an officer that was on the left side of the suspect. And when that contact happened, the firearm discharged. And we started looking at this video. The initial ones we had were kind of grainy, and they were of the cameras that were actually in the station. And we got our hands on some really good footage. And when we slowed down the footage and paused it and started looking, we realized that every single police officer in that building had a set of keys on their belt keepers on the front of their belt. And I'm not saying this is bad, because when I was a cop, that's where I kept all my keys as well, on my belt keeper in the front. And
Phil, let me stop you. Let me stop you quickly. Let me stop you quickly. We're getting ready to take a break. We're getting hit by a hard break. Can I keep you into the next segment, please? I want to finish this conversation. Do you have time to do that?
Of course.
Great. We're going to keep Phil Strader. Phil is, of course, the Vice President of Consumer Affairs for SIG. We're talking about some of the 320 issues you might have seen or heard about on the internet. We're letting SIG address those right here on the program today. We'll be back with co-host Ryan Petty and Phil Strader from SIG Sauer right after this. Don't go away.
Daniel Defense firearms are guaranteed for life, trusted worldwide, and designed, engineered, and manufactured right here in America. Daniel Defense, freedom, passion, precision.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom today and every day, Monday through Friday, here in the 6 Hour Studios. On the Sunday Monster Cast, it's in front of the 6 Hour microphone. And, of course, it's all being brought to you by the great X Insurance, and Patriot Mobile microphone is lit up for you today. The on-air lights are booming to anybody outside. Drive by can see it. Let's go back to Ryan Petty. Ryan, welcome back in, my brother.
Good to be here, Mark.
Yeah, and let's Phil Strader. Welcome back. Phil, we got cut off by that hard break. Thank you for sticking with us. So we were talking about one of the videos, the popular video that's out there from the PD, and you were talking about what SIG noticed from that video. Please take it away. The mic is yours. Floor is yours, Phil.
Yeah, so as I was mentioning, when we started looking through the much higher quality video, we were able to pause and see that there were keys attached to the belt keepers on the front of the officer's belts. Pretty commonplace to put keys is on the front belt keeper so you can get to them for your cruiser or whatever the case may be. And the officer in question was picking up the feet of the suspect when he was moving upwards with his right side. His right side bumped the area of the officer where the keys were located on the front left of his belt. We're contending that because of the holster that they were carrying a light-bearing holster, and as we know with a lot of these light-bearing holsters, especially the retention holsters made by very popular companies, and they're very effective. There is a very noticeable gap between the side of the holster and the side of the trigger guard where things can get into, namely keys, pens, seat belts, all kinds of things. Notices have been put out about some of these holsters and what can get into them. And, it really appears, if you slow down the video and watch, it appears that when that bump is made, that most likely the key that's hanging right there on the front left of that officer is in contact with that holster, gets into the holster, and pulls the trigger. And, again, another example of whether or not the gun's in a holster, out of a holster, fingers on the trigger, or foreign objects on the trigger. If the trigger moves to the rear on any major manufacturing pistol, it will discharge. This is not a gun problem. This is a systematic failure, and it is a 1 in a million kind of thing, and we're glad no one was hurt, obviously. And when we hear about these things, the first thing we ask, obviously, is what kind of holster was it? Is it a light-bearing holster? What was in and around the holster? Yeah, there's a lot of questions we have to ask, and that's what we just want to get to the bottom of it and find out exactly what happened, because we've done everything we can to blame on the gun ourselves. We can't find the problem, so now we're trying to look at this from a logical system standpoint. And in fact, I can also say that this very reputable and very good gun company, or holster company, has actually addressed this issue with an improved holster, and we endorse it very highly. It's called the Ballast holster. It's very, very good. It actually closes a lot of the gaps that are creating these intrusions into these holsters, and that was honestly, that video, as everyone thought, that was the most damning evidence against this, and as it turns out, it really helped us kind of understand exactly how that happened and what could possibly be happening with a lot of these other in-holster detonations. And, those are, of course, the legitimate in-holster detonations that with regards to detonations that are happening outside of the holster, we can typically attribute that to gun handling issues and training issues. And as much as we don't like to, tell police officers that they've made a mistake, I was a police officer for a long time. I was a firearms instructor for many, many, many years, and we see mistakes made by police officers, and it happens so fast that sometimes it's not a clear picture as to what happened, and sometimes, of course, we have gotten to the position now, especially with the 320, that it's starting to become a blame point. Instead of saying, hey, I may have made a mistake here, it's now, well, let's check out this gun and see if there's anything wrong with it. And
well, look,
so far, we can't find anything wrong with it.
Let's face facts, too, and I'm sure you'll agree, and I don't know how many of this has been the case. I do know that there have been some issues as well. I don't know, forgive me for not knowing what it's called, but the little draw ties on the bottom of jackets
Yes.
when the weather gets colder. Some of those I
Drawstring.
know have gotten caught inside the trigger guard. And look, let's be real, Phil.
Yes.
When a cop's job is on the line, a negligent discharge like that, it's going to be really easy to blame the gun instead of blaming yourself. It wasn't my fault. It was the gun. And again, I don't know how many that's occurred. I don't have a number. I'm just saying I'm going to guess that that's probably somewhat of an issue with some of these discharges as well. So let me just ask you this question. I asked this of Tom and I asked this of Ron Cohen. Well, and I'll ask you, will the gun fire without the trigger being pulled?
Absolutely not.
End of discussion on that one, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it from Phil Strader, and I am very happy to be going down and picking up my 320 Compact tomorrow. That will be the second 320 in my stable, and I love them all. Ryan Petty, did you want to jump in on this at all before I move on to some of the really cool new guns over at SIG I want to talk about, particularly the 1911?
I do. I've got a couple of questions for Phil. Phil, I know the 320 went through the rigorous U.S. Army Modular Handgun System program, the MHS program, and I can only imagine the testing that was involved to get the 320 through that process. For gun owners that are just hearing about this controversy or maybe are unsure whether to trust these grainy videos on social media or what you're saying, can you walk us through just a little bit about the testing both that SIG has done and third parties like the military have done to ensure that the gun is safe and functions exactly as designed by SIG?
Well, I can tell you that the military, the U.S. Army, and the military testing that was conducted on the firearm is substantial. It goes far and beyond what any normal user would put their firearm through. And the M17 is a variant of the P320. There are some differences, mainly a manual safety, but besides that, the operating system is the same with the M17 for the most part as a standard 320 that anyone would go into a store and purchase. So that testing has been substantial. We've been through numerous down selects with regards to testing firearms, and there's always a reliability and a durability testing variant of it, whether it be different types of ammo, with ammo compatibility testing, durability, tens and tens of thousands of rounds. One of the testing scenarios that we're most proud of, and I was actually one of the shooters that was actually conducting the test for the DHS contract, is the requirements for that contract were to go to fire 60,000 rounds, and we were obviously allowed a level of class 1 malfunctions, and it was very, very, very small amount of them, but we were allowed some, just like all the rest of the competitors, and we got through that 60,000 round test, and we did not have one problem, not one malfunction, not one class 1, class 2, class anything. We shot 60,000 rounds flawlessly, and it was getting to the point where the testers and evaluators were just bewildered. They'd never seen anything like that. So it was pretty cool. But with regards to what people really care about is our rough handling, with regards to how much can this gun handle before it discharges without a trigger pull, which is what everyone's claiming, which it can't. But really what people want to know is how hard do we beat on these guns? And we test our guns in rough handling. We actually test them at 20 times more orientations with regards to drop testing and about 20% higher on concrete. So we're actually putting our guns through more testing with regards to rough handling than any manufacturer on the planet. The standard orientation is 6 for NATO and SAMI specifications. We drop at 26.
Wow.
So we're going way above and beyond what's normal. But as I mentioned before, this company and that pistol and that platform were under so much scrutiny that we decided to take a page out of the military's book and just start rough handling these things beyond what is normal.
All right, Phil,
And
let me ask you one more
done.
time. I have to stop you because of the break again. I got to ask you, can you stay for one more segment with us and round out the hour with us?
Absolutely.
All right, good deal. Phil Strader, Vice President, Consumer Affairs, SIG, is going to stick with Ryan Petty and myself. One more segment to go in the broadcast today, folks. We'll be back right after this break. On the flip side, don't go away.
This segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Daniel Defense. Visit DanielDefense.com. Now, back to the show.
Now, back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in. Final segment here from the 6 Hour Studios. In front of the Patriot Mobile microphone, I am Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom. It's all being brought to you by the great X Insurance. And again, you can find all of our partners at ArmedAmericanRadio.com, from MyPillow all the way on down the line. Use the promo code AAR and Ammo Squared. One of the greatest out, guys. It's a 401k for ammo stacking, baby. I mean, you can do like I do. And Ryan Petty, our co-host, also stacks ammo at Ammo Squared, as many of you do. But you can pay whatever you want to pay per week. Give them whatever caliber you want, and they'll start stacking it for you. You can go to the website, make changes. You can ship it whenever you want. You can not ship it. Keep it building like me. I'm up to a few thousand rounds already. And if I don't want it for whatever reason, they'll just give me my money back immediately. So it really, truly is like a 401k. It's an ammo savings account, and you don't have to clutter up what limited space, if you're like me, you're already cluttering up with all of your cool gear. It just makes it that much easier. And you can also clean all of your guns, including all these SIGs we're talking about with Phil Strader, with your barrel buddies. In fact, you can pick barrel buddies up at the SIG Academy. So again, another reason, go visit the 6 Hour Academy. You're doing a disservice by not going. It is world-class, world-class. All of our partners, find them all at ArmedAmericanRadio.com. Phil Strader, welcome back in, Vice President, Consumer Affairs of 6 Hour. Ryan, welcome back in, brother. That was a great question. Phil, I'll let you finish that. You were talking about the 20 times more versus the 6 times, et cetera. I'll let you finish that thought, and then I want to cover some really cool new stuff you have.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. We because of the scrutiny and because of the fact that we wanted to prove that our firearm is the most durable and the toughest out there, is we just upped the standardized rough handling test. We just upped it. We increased the orientations of drop 20-fold, and we increased the height by 20%. We drop higher than any other manufacturer, and we drop on concrete, and so we stand far and above anyone else who can survive these tests. So a lot of people don't know that, and now we're just going to let people know. We're tired of not talking about it. So we're gonna let people know that these are the standards we hold the P320 and actually all of our handguns too, and we'll stand behind it.
Ryan, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that? I want to get over to some cool new gear over there at 6 Hour too.
Look, you know me, I like the new stuff, so I want to move to that conversation. But I appreciate Phil being willing to come on and stay, and answer the questions. I think, to Phil's point, every video I've seen has been grainy. It's been unclear. And quite honestly, in the trainings that I've done, I've seen some negligent discharges from guns, but, not the P320, but, these are bad holsters or things getting stuck in a holster when somebody's reholstering. And that seems to be 99% of the training accidents that I see on the range.
Yeah, about 99%, as you know, of negligent discharges occur upon a reholster as well, too. And that's just a fact, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Phil, you heard me say my list is the 220, the 365 Macro XL. Don't have the Fusion yet, but I'm working on that. 226, 320 full size, and tomorrow I'm picking up the 320 compact. But I got to tell you, I'm looking at this 1911 X stainless new, both the compact and the full size. Good heavens, man. I mean, talk to me. I mean, these are amazing, ladies and gentlemen. If you like the 1911 platform, and I do, I have one here in the studio with me, not the SIG 1911X. I'm going to change that down the road. Let's talk a little bit about that gun, because she is a beauty.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite. I'm a big single stack guy. I love the single stack. Obviously, I've been competing with them for a while. I actually was lucky enough to win the national championship a few years ago.
It's awesome.
And this thing is cool. I mean, it is. When we were developing this, obviously it's a 1911. Look, how much time can you put into it? How much work can you put into it? But we were able to find a way to kind of say, well, what is the one thing that a lot of 1911s don't do, right? They're starting to finally get some optic compatibility and that kind of thing. But funny thing is, a lot of them don't do is they don't retain the rear sight. And I thought, how cool would it be if we were able to use a very popular optic footprint and the RMSC footprint, and that would actually allow us to keep the rear sight. So the great thing about this X Series gun is that you can run an RMSC footprint optic on it and keep the standard height night sights that come with the pistol. And so you run a low platform, a low deck height optic, and you don't have to remove your rear sights, find some kind of weird plate adapter. It's just pull the plate off, put the optic on, and you've got a gun ready to go, and it's awesome. Plus, there's a lot of other things. The grips are great. They actually have the nice cutout for the mag catch, the mag release, front and rear serrations. We redesigned the slide, improved the trigger. Actually used an ambi safeties on this one. I love it. There's nothing about it I don't like. It makes me want to wish I was shooting single stack again.
There's really nothing to not like about a 1911. The shootability of the 1911. This is an 8-round magazine, ladies and gentlemen. The gun comes standard with 2 8-round magazines. So you got 9 rounds of 45 when you put one in the pipe in this thing. And I haven't had my hands on this yet, but I can promise you in a couple weeks when I get up your direction, I will put my hands on this at the Academy. And the compact, too, is also, correct me if I'm wrong, the compact is also 8 rounds, right? It's single stack 8 rounds, 45?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. Can you give me a price point on that by any chance?
I haven't had a chance to really dig into the prices. They actually gave me a price card for the NRA show, and the writing was so small. I was like, "Look, I'm 54 years old. What in the world are you giving me this for?" But it shouldn't be a ton more than the standard 1911X with the standard finish. But I can tell you that it's definitely going to be a contender in that marketplace. I can tell you that.
Well, aesthetically, it's beautiful because it's stainless, ladies and gentlemen. And I will direct you to SigSauer.com. And when you get over to SigSauer.com, just click up in the top left on the firearm link up there, and you'll see the drop-down menu of everything, of every single pistol. Now, the Fusion, I was at the next event last summer when the Fusion was debuted, and the price point on that gun was under $1,000 with the new optic on it. How is that gun selling? Because, my gosh, it's a P365. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say at this point it's probably the best-selling handgun in your lineup. Would I be right on that?
I tell you, it's that's the 365. Is that right?
Yeah, we've got 30 seconds. I'll let you take us to the break.
Well, this gun is probably one of the best shooting 365s I've ever shot. Obviously it's a 380, so they shoot a little bit softer, but just the combination of the caliber and the weight and the platform, it shoots so well. I'm just blown away by how well it shoots. But it's been doing quite well. Obviously, the 365 as a whole is just one of our just market contenders. We've done so great with that platform. We couldn't be happier with it.
It's in a lot of holsters around the country for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. Phil Strader, Vice President, Consumer Affairs, Sig Sauer. Looking forward to seeing you in just a few weeks. It was great seeing you just last weekend, just a few days ago. And thank you, sir, for being here. I know we took a little bit of extra time out of your schedule. Thank you so much for sticking with us and addressing those questions. We appreciate it very much. We appreciate everything Sig does on behalf of our gun rights all around the country. And thank you for your support here. And, of course, thank you for your support of Second Amendment Foundation and others. Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Strader, Vice President, Consumer Affairs, SIG. I'll be up at the Academy in the very near future where we'll be broadcasting live. No doubt Phil will be a guest. And Ryan Petty, thank you for being here. We appreciate it very much. The break's going to get me, so I got to fly. Enjoy your day. Stay safe. See you on the radio. Thanks for tuning in today, folks. Guys and gals, thanks for jumping in today. Great call from Phil Strader at SIG today. And if you had any questions on the 320, I hope he answered them for you. Okay? There's a lot of people online saying a lot of things. And if you've not seen it, go out and look at it. If you have seen it, Hopefully Phil answered some of your questions today. SIG absolutely stands by the 320. I have one. I love it. I stand by it 100,000 gobzillion %. I've never had a problem with it. And I'm picking up the 320 compact tomorrow. It just came in today, so I'm looking forward to that. And I really can't wait to get my hands on one of these 1911s. Oh, and I have another great gun coming in. In fact, I believe it's shipping today, and that's the Car X9. Yeah, when they come in, I'll hold them up for the camera, and we'll see if we get kicked offline. Some platforms don't like when we do that. But anyway, too bad for them, right? So thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it very much. I'll see you on the radio tomorrow. Garbage day at the ranch. Tomorrow is Thursday. We're making it way through the week. See you tomorrow on the radio, folks. Thanks for tuning in.